Hey, it's Joe Barnes from the Screw the System YouTube channel, and I'm back with another new video. Now today's video is a follow-on from one I made well over 2 years ago. That was called The 9 Steps to Achieving Your Dream, and it used the 2015 film The Walk as a blueprint to explain 9 key phases that every business person, entrepreneur, somebody with a dream, somebody looking to change the world needs to know in order to take their dream from idea inception to successfully realized. My advice to you is you go back and watch that video, then return here to learn the 4 key additional phases. However, this time, instead of using The Walk to explain these phases, I'm going to focus on the 2015 film Joy. Now this film stars Jennifer Lawrence as the real-life character Joy Mangano, who is the inventor of the self-wringing miracle mop. I'll walk you through the 4 key stages and how they relate to the film, bringing in various examples, also examples from my own life and other famous figures to give you the complete picture on how to achieve your dream. So without further ado, let's start with phase number 1. So the first additional step to achieving your dreams is to take risks. You're going to have to get your head around the idea that you'll have to risk something, possibly everything, in order to realize your dream. Now in the film Joy, she takes 2 major risks. The first one comes when the director of the QVC channel, who've agreed to allow her present her miracle mop to their audience, tells her that he wants 50,000 units by this time next week. Obviously there's no guarantee that those units are going to sell, but she has to risk that for the chance to promote her mop. The second risk comes later on in the film, where she's facing financial trouble because she's being ripped off by her business partners. As a result, she has to remortgage her home to continue with her business. Now obviously there's a little bit of creative license with every film, but I did my research and found out that the real life Joy Mangano actually had to raise $100,000 to get her project going in the first place. So even if the film exaggerates what was going on, there was definitely a risk involved. Now the important thing to know is that risk comes in many forms. In many ways it's financial. With Joy it certainly was, but for you it could be different. I know the risks that I'm taking to live my dreams aren't necessarily financial, because I've sort of built my dream up on the back of my tennis coaching and hypnotherapy business. But the risk I'm facing comes more in line with love and age. As I get older, as I invest more and more time on my dream, I'm taking time away from the chance to have family and have kids, which is really important to me. Other people may face a risk to their pride. Everyone faces a risk to their pride. When they launch a new venture, what if it fails? Are they going to look stupid in front of somebody else? Are they going to lose face? Whatever it is, you have to get comfortable with the idea of taking risks. Because taking risks actually can boost your chances of success. Because risk actually focuses your mind. When something is on the line, or with everything on the line, everything is on the line, there's no playing around. There's no get out clause in the back of your mind. There's no let's test the water, see how it goes, and if it fails, I'll be all right because I've got plan B. When you remove plan B, you have to make plan A work. And this ensures you pour everything into it. Of course, this then increases the chances of your success. And it's not just me and Joy who took risks in their lives. There are plenty of other people who have realized their dreams and have had to take risks. One actor springs to mind immediately, and that's Brad Pitt. He had a very interesting story. He was at university and was, I think, only a couple of credits away from graduating. He was certainly in his final year. He decided to up and leave, drive to Hollywood and pursue his dream of becoming an actor. Now if that's not a major risk, I can't think of what is. He only had to stick out university for a couple more months, and he had a degree that would have led to a respectable career. However, that wasn't what he was passionate about. So he decided to take that big risk, cut away all his options, all of his plan Bs, and go for his dream. So get comfortable with this idea of risk, and you'll find that it actually focuses your mind and increases your chance of success. Now the second additional step to achieving your dream is to do it yourself. There's something you must realize when you begin to promote either your product or your services. and that is nobody will be as passionate about your product or its services as you will. Furthermore, nobody is going to want to see your product or service succeed as much as you do. So get your head around this idea that you're going to have to be a promoter as well as a creator. Now in the film Joy, we see this about halfway through when she finally gets her big break on the QVC channel. She's been signed up because the director likes her Miracle Mop and wants to give it a go. However, he thinks the best person to sell it is their hotshot seller called Todd. He's the #1 guy in the industry and he can shift units of virtually any product. However, when it comes to selling Joy's Miracle Mop, he bombs. He doesn't know what to say, he tries to do a demonstration, he sort of fumbles around, screws the whole thing up. So this means Joy looks like it's all finished for her. The director says, look, I gave you a chance, Joy, but it didn't work out, I'm sorry. But she's invested so much in this project that she has to think of something. She comes up with the idea of promoting herself, convinces the director to give her a shot, steps up, and although she sort of bumbles through the first 10 or 30 seconds of the presentation, finally gets into her stride and nails the presentation. She goes on to sell something like 50,000 units. The principle applies. You have to get comfortable with the idea about being a promoter as well as a creator, because the industries are changing. Look at my industry, the book publishing industry. It used to be that the creator, the author would sit and write their book, come up with something brilliant and leave it to the publishing company to go and promote and market that work. That's why the publishing company got such a huge, some might say unfair, disproportionate amount of the sales from the books, because they would do the advertising and marketing. It's no longer the case. Even if you're a published author, you're expected to then go and spend your own money promoting your work. It sucks, but that's the way the industry is moving. That's why many people are choosing to stay self-employed, because they're going to have to do that promotion anyway, so they may as well get more money per book than having a publishing company rip them off. Anyway, the point is that the industries are changing. It's not just publishing, it's probably the same with music as well and many other industries. You have to promote as well as create your work. So this is something really important, that you learn about marketing. Take some steps, whatever they might be, to increase your knowledge on how to sell your work or sell your services. And you don't have to spend thousands doing this. Just 2 weeks ago, I went to a free meetup group with a talker, somebody called Sarah Starr, who was an email marketer. Now she'd made over £3 million worth of money over a few years just using email marketing, selling affiliate products and selling her own. I learned a load of valuable stuff from that, and I got it all for free. Books as well, you know, they only cost a couple of pounds, a couple of dollars, maybe $10. You don't have to invest thousands of pounds into marketing gurus telling you that they're going to give you the secret to learning to sell yourself and your product. You can acquire some of this knowledge relatively cheaply. But the main thing is to get over this psychological hurdle. You can't see yourself as this brilliant creator who just does that, and it's unfair that now I have to go and promote it. You know, I'm the creator, I just do this. It's somebody else's job to promote it. I'm afraid it's not going to work like that, because nobody else is going to want to see you succeed as much as yourself, and nobody is going to know your product and service as much as you. So get comfortable with this idea of doing it yourself. Now, the third step to achieving your dreams is to believe in yourself or your product. Now, there's something you've got to get your head round at the outset of you creating your product or starting to sell your service. If nobody knows who you are, irrespective of how good your product or service is, you're going to face rejection. And we can see this in the film Joy after she's created her Miracle Mop and she attempts to sell it. She goes to the local shops and asks it to be put in the shop window, but they all say no. She also goes to a parking lot of a shopping outlet and starts to do live demonstrations of how well her mop works. However, despite it being an ingenious invention, everybody just walks past. Now, does this mean that Joy's invention isn't any good? Now consider this, her mop, once marketed effectively and once put in front of the right audience, went on to sell 5 million units. So clearly it was a brilliant invention. And this is why you must believe in yourself or your product. You're likely to experience rejection after rejection, but it doesn't necessarily mean what you've created isn't worthwhile. And the reason for this is explained to me by a CEO expert who I once employed to help boost my YouTube videos and my website. He told me at the outset of our conversations that people are arseholes and they don't take anyone seriously unless a bunch of other arseholes are into them. So don't take it personally. A lot of people have faced rejection throughout their journey and experienced failure. Steve Jobs, as successful as he ultimately became, nobody thought his Game 4 Cube was any good, or his Apple III was any good, or his Lisa was any good. They all said that these products weren't good and some of them didn't sell very well. However, he continued to believe in his technical and creative vision and was ultimately successful in the future. So what you have to do to ascertain whether you do have a good product is to be super critical on yourself and your product. Be more critical than anybody else could possibly be. Look for flaws everywhere to make sure that you have a product which really is top quality. And then if you know it's top quality and you start to get some positive feedback, then pour all of your belief into it. Interestingly, the real Joy Mangano had this to say about experiencing the initial rejection of her Miracle Mop. Some people thought I was crazy to try and mass market it, but I knew that wasn't the case. There was nothing like this out there. And when I demonstrated it for people, they invariably said, I have to have that. Now this is the thing you want to look for, that positive feedback. Even if many people are rejecting the product or refusing to buy it, find a few people who are getting really positive responses to it, and then you know you've created something good. And if you have no reason to doubt it, and you have to pour all your belief into the product or your service in order to push it through and for it to ultimately become successful. Because if you do keep going and you have created a good product, you will eventually find a way. You'll use your marketing knowledge, which we discussed in the previous point, to find a way to get this product in front of your audience and make some sales. So be aware that you are going to have to believe in yourself on product 100%, because you're going to experience rejection, but this won't ultimately hold you back. The fourth and final step to achieving your dreams is to never give up. You are going to have to develop a fighting spirit to overcome all of the obstacles you will face. Now we see Joy embody this spirit in the film on two separate occasions. The first time is with her initial run at the QVC channel, when Todd, the so-called super seller, fails to shift any units of her product. At that point, the director tells her, sorry, you're out on your own, Joy, we had our chance, but it failed. She refuses to give up though, and comes back to this director with the idea of selling the product herself. The second occasion where she displays her fighting spirit is when she faces bankruptcy. This is after her product has become successful. However, she's being ripped off by one of her partners, and it turns out that the cost of making the Miracle Mops is more than what they're actually selling them for. As a result, she's $200,000 in debt and she has to file for bankruptcy. However, she still doesn't give up. She's still looking through the finer details of the contract she has between her and her partners, and finally she comes across a discrepancy which allows her to get back in business. But none of that would have happened if she didn't have that attitude of never giving up. Now, in order to make this attitude work, there's a mindset shift that you have to adopt. You have to realize that there's a solution to every problem. It's clear to see that believing this enabled Joy to find solutions that enabled her to come back. If she didn't have this attitude that there's got to be a solution, she wouldn't have come up with the idea of selling the product herself. And she wouldn't have spent hours and hours scrutinizing her contracts, finding a loophole which enabled her to survive after the bankruptcy. So this is an attitude and mindset you must adopt. Realize that there's a solution to every problem you face. Finally, the reason why never giving up is so powerful is because it allows the possibility of a miracle occurring. If you keep going throughout the years and years or the decades and decades, there will be that one opportunity or many opportunities that come around that you will be able to take advantage of. Another powerful film I can think of which displays the importance of never giving up is the film The Hurricane. In this film, with Denzel Washington playing the main character Reuben Carter, which tells a true life story of a middleweight boxer who was falsely imprisoned for murder, he faced obstacle after obstacle and also injustice after injustice. After being falsely imprisoned in the 1960s, he appealed in the 70s to be briefly freed, but was then retrialed and sent back to prison, then appealed again in the 80s, and by 1985, after having spent nearly 20 years of his life in prison for a crime he didn't commit, he was finally freed. And this demonstrates the power of this principle. If you never give up, you allow yourself the possibility of a miracle occurring. Even if it's 20 years later, it still might happen. So embrace this fighting spirit and never give up on your dreams. So that brings this video to an end. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and if you have any comments or questions, then please leave them below. And also, as I said earlier, now go and watch the 9 original steps to achieving your dreams so you can combine it with this video and have the complete picture. Finally, I also want to say please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I've taken a little bit of a break from making these videos because I was working on my second book, How to Create an Income Without Working a Boring Job. However, now that that's complete, I've got the time to make more and more, but I want to know from you guys that there's a demand for these videos. And the way you can let me know is by subscribing to the channel, liking the video, sharing it with friends. Hopefully, if we can grow the channel a bit more, I'll be making videos on a more consistent basis. So that's all for now. I've got another powerful video planned soon, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in the next one.